Hello, everyone. We're just starting in a couple minutes. Welcome to our back to school town hall for middle school. Still letting some people in. We'll get started in just a minute. All right, I think we're going to go ahead and get started. We have a lot of information to cover with you today. Welcome back. That's the first thing I want to say. Welcome back to the 21-22 school year. And I can't believe the kids are starting next week, but we are ready for them and we are so excited to see them. It's going to be a great year. Next slide, please. As I get started, I do want to point out in the bottom, there is a Q&A button that you can select. If you have any questions, just type them in there. During the presentation, we may either answer your questions in writing as we go, and you can put them in Spanish or in English, or we may answer them live at the end. So just feel free to put in questions as we go. So I just want to say that we are ready to go back to school, and we want to thank you for complying with the ISP pledge. We are so fortunate that so far we've had 0 on-campus student transmissions. Our biosecurity protocols are working. And in addition to that, between last year and this year, our community vaccination numbers have jumped significantly. Next slide, please. These are our numbers and we are super excited about them. So first of all, 95% of our faculty and staff are fully vaccinated. In addition to that, we just did a survey, as you know, to find out from you how our families and our students are doing with vaccination. And 2/3 of our families responded to our survey as of the July 23rd. And of those, 83% of the parents are fully vaccinated. That is fantastic. And another 14% will be fully vaccinated. They're just waiting on their second dose. And then looking at our students, 65% of those that are eligible for vaccination, those are kids that are 12 and up, have been vaccinated. 65% have been vaccinated. This is 60% of our high school and middle school population. We're using this data and we have shared it with the Ministra and others and trying to help us shrink our meters distance down to 1 meter, at which point we'll be able to welcome everyone back every day. Next page, please. So just to remind you the road we've been on, last year we were online every day, all the time. And it was not our dream scenario, but finally we were the first school in Panama on March 8th to bring children back to campus. That was one of the most beautiful 2 days of my life, seeing kids again at school. It was awesome. And then we were able to bring even more children back on the 14th as more chose to participate in our in-person support program. We got the coveted Maduka Safe School certificate with just a handful of other schools on April 28th, which allows us to be open this year. All of our faculty and staff completed their vaccinations by the end of May. And also May 31st, we were able to extend our hours for a full school day, which let us practice some things so that we're really ready for this year. Now we are officially approved to have the semi-presential hybrid model starting August 5th with our students. So that's what we've prepared for, but I want to be clear, and this presentation will be about the semi-presential hybrid model, but I want to be clear, we're ready to welcome all students back every day, and we'll do so as quickly as we're able to. Next slide, please. Alita, would you please talk to us about Maduka's non-negotiables?
Hello, good afternoon. As Audrey mentioned, we have been able to keep our population and our community very safe because we have been following the biosecurity measures that Meduca stipulates. We will continue with our social distance and hand washing. We will have to check temperature as kids arrive at school or they board the buses. We will continue with our separate area for the nurse where we will keep our suspected cases, and face masks are mandatory throughout the whole school day. So we will keep our community safe and follow the biosecurity measures. And now it's back to Audrey.
Next slide, please, Bill. So I know what's in the front of a lot of your minds is, how will school look? Well, it really is going to vary by division. And so I'm going to, Kyle, our middle school principal, he will shortly explain to you exactly what it's going to look like in the middle school. But I can at least talk you through the schedule. Next slide, please. So for everybody, we will have an 8 a.m. school start. And this is important to note that this 8 a.m. start is only while we are hybrid. The minute we go back to school full-time with students in class every day, we will return to a 7:30 a.m. start for all students. And then students will finish the day every day at 2:30. The exception will be Fridays. Every Friday, we will go from 8 to 11:30. The afternoon time is time for the teachers to do professional development. We are splitting classes by alphabet like we did last year, and please do not request changing days. There's really a lot that goes into setting these up. So A to K, Monday through and Wednesdays, L to Z on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and alternating Fridays, one week will be the A to K, the next week will be L to Z. Of course, we decided to make things more complicated the first week of school. So for next week only, Thursday is going to be a full day, and we're starting with the second half of the alphabet. L through Z, their first day of school will be August 5th. And Friday, this first Friday, is not going to be an early dismissal day. This Friday is going to also be a full day of school, and our A through K students will come on August 6th. So we will send this information out to you tomorrow, the recording, the slides, but please make note of this so you bring your children on the correct day. Next slide, please. If you have sent in your pledge, you're in really good shape, and we are very excited to welcome you back. If you have not filled out the pledge, you cannot come to campus starting next week. It is very, very important that we get that. That is a Meduca rule. We cannot allow students back on campus without signing this pledge. If you need it or you have to turn it in, please contact Betsy Rodriguez. You can see on the screen her email address. That's where you would turn it in. If you haven't done so, the deadline was back in early July. So we're assuming at this point that if you haven't turned it in, your child is not returning to campus. And if that is not true, we need you to get that in ASAP. So please get those in as soon as you can. Next slide, please. Now we're going to talk to you about our biosecurity protocols before we get into actually how school learning will look. Janet.
Thanks, Audrey. Appreciate it. And good afternoon, everyone. I hope everyone enjoyed the summer and recharged. We're really looking forward to having all of your children back, all of our students here on campus. As Audrey mentioned, we're going to talk a little bit about biosecurity, and that's why that pledge is very important. If you haven't completed it, please go ahead and submit it to Betsy to make sure we have everything in order. If you have already completed it last year, you only need to fill it out once and send it to us. If you've already done it, you don't need to do that again. So we will continue for this school year to follow our switch shift model. So we need to make sure all of aspects of biosecurity are covered, enforced, and we'll continue to make sure that our students know how to properly implement it. That includes masks, and these are masks that are approved Per Panama law, you can use reusable masks or cloth masks. The only ones that in Panama are not allowed are the ones that have valves. So any other type of mask, please, you can go ahead and use those and send additional masks with your child to make sure that they can change throughout the day. We will continue with social distancing and reduce occupancy and ventilation. Again, our ventilation system has UV filters to help with cleaning the air, as well as we will open windows and doors regularly. We will continue with hand washing, as we've done throughout our in-person program. And deep cleaning will happen on Saturdays, but every day we will do cleaning and disinfecting of surface areas. Next slide, please. Now, looking at our numbers and just learning a little bit of what took place during the in-person program, we really appreciate, I want to thank our families for being honest and transparent with us. And in turn, we want to be transparent with you. So throughout the in-person program, we identified positive cases of students as well as staff and faculty. And because people were very diligent into letting us know, we were able either to isolate and send home a classroom if needed, or a group of our faculty and staff members. All of our cases identified on campus have recovered fully, and we have one case of a staff member that is a possibility that it might have happened on campus or not. That's why you see a number there in that, a number one in that first bubble with an asterisk. But we want to thank the community for keeping us informed, and that way, as soon as we know, we are able to act and make sure that the rest of the community is safe. We appreciate you keep our nurses informed, and again, per our pledge, if there's anyone at home, not only your child, but anyone at home that's showing any type of symptoms that might be related to COVID, please let our nurse know, and she will let you know next steps. Thank you. And next slide, please. Now moving a little bit away, not all, but a little bit away from biosecurity and looking at transportation. Our website has updates now with our transportation options for our recommended providers. If you have not contacted them and you need transportation, please make sure to go to our website. We will continue to do temperature checks before boarding. We are bringing in our providers to make sure all of our monitors are trained in the proper use of the thermometer, as well as the logging that they need to do before they arrive to campus. Transportation, we need to follow also the transportation regulations. So face masks as well as face shields will be required, and we'll continue to do sanitation of our buses in the bus lot. Because we are doing traceability, no switching of flexible buses is still allowed. We appreciate your support with that. And next slide will be about lunches. So our cafeteria is under construction. You received an email yesterday, but this is in preparation for when the cafeteria opens, which you are all set and ready as we go cashless. For now, the students must bring their own lunch. We don't have microwaves available or cutlery, as we want to make sure we don't have anywhere to make sure everything is safe. So please make sure you bring your cups, cutlery, and any water bottles. All of our water fountains are now available for bottle with no contact. So please feel free to have one for your students so they can fill their water bottles. We will have lunch, as we did for the last 2 weeks of classes, in the tennis courts. Those will be set and ready. It is a good area, as well as it has open ventilation as your child removes the mask for snacking and eating. And next up, I think I'll pass it over to Kyle for some very important information. Thanks.
Great, thanks, Janet. And thank you, of course, Dr. Menard. It is so great. I can't actually see any of you, but it's so great to have you here. It feels like just last week that we were wrapping up the year with our amazing promotion ceremony and award ceremony. And I just want to tell you how excited I am to be getting this school year going. To be honest, just being back on campus, there's a certain electricity in the air, so to speak. Campus is just looking beautiful. The conversations that we're already having about and have been having about the direction of our school, the curriculum, and the things that we're discussing right now are just inspiring. And so I really cannot wait for next Thursday to finally get kids back on campus and to start the hard work that we have ahead of us. We want to go through just a few things and just give you a very bird's eye view of what learning is going to look like. I know that there are a lot of questions about what's going to happen when my student is on campus, what's going to happen when they're not on campus, and then also that group of what's going to happen if my child can't come, we're still out of the country for another few weeks, or we opt not to come for the time being. And so we're going to go through a few different models of what learning is going to look like moving forward in the middle school. And I think the very first thing that we want all of you to know is that at the core of everything we do in the middle school, relationships matter. Kids have shared this over the past 18 months, our communication with the PTA and just getting feedback from various parents. Communications and relationships is the number one thing that is missing from our kids, and especially our preteens and teens. The adolescents, they thrive on that social connection. And so that is at the heart of everything we're planning on doing moving forward, that really creating a culture where kids have an opportunity to talk to each other, to collaborate with each other, and just know that on campus, they're in an environment that's safe to do so. As we start planning, we're really focusing, as I mentioned, on the 3 different learners. And so we think about the kids who are on campus that day, and we want to focus on meeting their needs. We want to focus on meeting the needs of the kids who are not on campus that day, but are coming to campus in general. And then a third group, of course, of the students who remain completely virtual. Like Janet and Audrey said, campus it's a very safe place. It's a happy place. It's an electric place, and we hope that you'll decide to send your children. I think just seeing the hop and the step in June and May, when most kids are dragging to go to school to try to get through the school year, the excitement that we had at the end of last year was really, really incredible. And so we hope that you'll consider that. And if you have questions about that, I'd love to have a conversation to talk through what's best for your kids. But I know it's going to be a great year. When we think about meeting the needs of the kids on campus, the feedback we've gotten from, of course, you as well as kids is we don't want to be logged into Google Meets, even though my teacher is 2 feet away. We want to be talking to each other. We want our computers closed. We want to be interacting. And so our time on campus is really going to be focused on that collaboration and that communication in person. There will be times, undoubtedly, that we'll have our computers open. However, we'll be looking at a Google Doc, and we'll be having a discussion and giving each other feedback on how to get better. Or we'll be looking at a model of an atom together and having a conversation about what this atomic structure means and how that has an impact in the world. And so the on-campus time is all about communication with each other, and ideally, as much as possible, computers closed. The off-campus time, the on and off-campus time, we're going to really focus on depth over breadth and ensuring that all the work is meaningful. It's aligned to the direction that we're going, and these big picture connections. We don't want your kids doing busy work. We don't want them doing hours and hours of busy work. And so we're going to really prioritize and continue to prioritize that everything we do has a reason, and it's very strategically organized in that way. The last one, and we'll be talking about a few different models of what that might look like. It is going to vary slightly by department. And the reason for that is because a lot of different departments have different needs and have different approaches. And that might vary from unit to unit, depending on what they're studying. That might vary a little bit from class to class, depending on what they're covering and what's going to meet the needs of the learners for that given lesson. But we're going to try a number of these different blended learning models because we know it's going to really work well with the kids on campus, the kids who are at home, as well as the kids who are not coming to campus at this time at all, because those are our 3 main groups that we're focused on. So the guiding question again is, how do we best use the time, this crucial time that we have kids on campus? I can't wait until it's all kids for 5 days. We're not there yet, but how do we prioritize this time on campus? And then what are some things that kids can do independently when they're not on campus? Can you go to the next slide, please? And so here is a quick overview of our schedule. We mentioned this to quite a few of you at the end of last year. We are making a slight adjustment to the schedule, regardless of hybrid. And so this is something that's been in the making and have been a part of conversations even prior to the pandemic of making this shift. And so what you'll notice that there'll be slightly longer blocks for students, but there'll only be 4 classes in a given day. And so you notice on day 1, your child will have 4 classes. The next day, they'll have 4 different classes, and it'll continue to rotate. And the reason for this is we want to make sure that classes are long enough to allow processing time. We also heard students very loud and clear when they talked about workload. And we want to make sure that students have a chance to process that information in the class and get that work done so that after school at 2:30, they can be part of our amazing VAPA program, our amazing after school and athletics that I know Devin and Fernando are going to talk about in just a few minutes. One addition you'll notice right in the middle, you might be saying, well, what is WIN? From 9:15 to 9:50 every day, we're going to have either advisory or our WIN block, which stands for what I need. And the what I need block was, again, designed prior to the pandemic, but it could not be more relevant than right now. It's designed to connect kids with what they need. And so for students who are at home, that's likely going to be the opportunity to connect with a teacher in the middle of the day. So even if they have an asynchronous lesson, they have a chance to get some help, to clarify directions, whatever it might be. For any of you who have heard me speak before, you know advisory is the foundation of a strong middle school program. It's definitely at the heart of what we do. And so advisory will continue to be something we focus on. Advisory will be the one time of the day where we'll be connecting with both kids on campus and at home at the same time. And the reason for that is because we want that group to be a very tight-knit community. That's a group of roughly 8 students with 1 or 2 teachers. And we're going to be having conversations with those students, as you know from last year, talking about identity and focusing on developing executive functioning skills and how we collaborate with each other, how we have discussions in a really professional way. And so we are going to be making sure that every time we have advisory, all students will have a chance to engage in those conversations. Can you go to the next slide, please, Bill? Just a couple other notes about the schedule. For the first 3 weeks of the school year during the wind block period, we're going to be having what we're calling a boot camp. And what that means is we're going to be focusing really hard on teaching executive functioning skills to help students be successful in this blended learning and hybrid environment. No matter what, even if on Thursday of next week, we get word that we can all come back to campus, whatever it might be, these skills are still going to be valuable for students because they're things about time management and how do I use my calendar? How do I send an email with appropriate etiquette? And so we're going to focus the first 3 weeks on really honing in on what are those essential skills that are help all students be successful for the first year, or excuse me, for the year. One of those, of course, will be the technology piece. And so if you're a 6th grade parent saying, oh my gosh, I'm transitioning to a new part of the school and I'm not ready for the technology yet, you are. And if you're not yet, you will be, because we're going to do a lot of training and support around Google Classroom, which I know is something that was used in 4th and 5th grade. Another question we've gotten quite a bit is, how are you going to help as a school my child stay motivated? And really, I think about it in 3 kind of big areas. One, as I've already mentioned, relationships. We are going to build and continue to build really strong relationships with kids. And we're going to continue to bend over backwards to make sure they know that and to reach out when they're struggling and have those open spaces where if a student needs help, they feel that they can go to their advisor or their teacher or myself or Miss Caitlin, anyone it might be, to get that help. And so part of it is just having a strong relationship. Another one, as I mentioned at the very beginning, is we have really engaging and meaningful classes. And so the work that's happening right now and will continue to happen next week when all of our staff come back is developing lessons that are just meaningful and engaging to students. And then the last one is communication. And we're going to continue to work on being more communicative and being very open, both from the administrative office, but as well as from teachers and grade level teams, so that you know what's going on and that if your student is struggling or if your student's doing great, we're going to try to communicate and make sure that you know that so you can support or celebrate them at home. One other thing that was brought up is how will my son or daughter stay connected on their days when they're at home? And so a few of the ways or the different models we'll go through in a moment, but there are some other ways. So as I mentioned, advisory is one way that no matter where they are in the world, and no matter if they're coming to campus or not, they're going to have a chance to connect with their teacher and connect with their classmates. Another one is the what I need block. And then the final one, which I haven't mentioned yet, is from 2:30 to 3:15 every day will be office hours. So as the students who are on campus are transitioning home on the bus or in the car, there'll be a chance for the students who are just at home to connect with their teachers, to pop in and ask them a quick question, to get that mini lesson that they might need, to get whatever support it is that they need to help them be successful. Would you mind going to the next slide, please? And so there are 3 models that we're incorporating. I'm going to attempt to not dive too deep, but these are things that are incredibly exciting to me. And so I'll try to dial it back just a little bit. But one of them is called a flipped classroom. The other one's called a playlist, and the other one is called station rotation. And these are all different models of blended learning that we're going to be incorporating, and we would be incorporating regardless of the pandemic. And so whenever we get back to campus for 5 days a week, these are things we're going to continue to do because it's best practice. And it's best practice at some of the best schools around the world. Do you go to the next slide, please? So the first one is a station rotation model. And what that looks like, as you can see on the screen, is there's the teacher working with a small group of students. And then those students rotate to an online station where they're engaging in some kind of online activity independently. And then as you can see, they rotate to what's called an offline station. And that's, I think, at the heart of that on-campus time, is where it's maybe computers closed, or it's computers open, but we're still having a debate, a discussion, a Socratic seminar to engage and connect with each other. We have a couple examples. If you go to the next slide, please, of what that could look like, for example, in an 80-minute block. So in one class, you'll notice that we've already started to think about what are the kids on campus doing, what are the kids at home doing, to ensure that the experience is very powerful for both of them. So in this particular example, there might be an opening where all students are able to be in there. The on-campus students would then have a lesson. So computers might be closed. They're going to be having a conversation, a mini lesson of some sort with the teacher. After that, the on-campus students might open up their computer and begin to work independently. They might be working in small groups. At that time, the teacher might shift then and have a conversation with the students at home. And so again, it's meeting the needs of the kids on campus. They're getting the lesson they need, as well as having a chance to collaborate. The teacher might pivot then and begin to connect with the students at home so that they're also getting that support. If you go to the next slide, please. It also might look like that in a given week. And so as you see from this, we're continuing in everything we're doing, we're continuing to think about those three kind of tracks of students to make sure everything we do is meeting their needs. Even when students are online, if, for example, you'll notice like on Friday in this example, the A through K last names are online and they're on campus. The teacher at that time is going to be pulling students and conferencing with them, maybe giving them some feedback, maybe looking at the essay that they just submitted and saying, hey, have you thought about this? Why did you use this word choice? What could you do to improve this? And so forth. Can you go to the next slide, please? Another model that we used last year and we used to great success when we did our student survey. I want to say it was maybe in early May. We got a lot of feedback about asynchronous lessons. And of course, as you imagine, some people love them. Some people don't love them as much. But the resounding feedback we got from a lot of kids was that it was powerful in their learning. It might've been challenging, but it was really a powerful learning opportunity. And so what this one looks like is on the day that you're not on campus, the students might read something, they might watch a video, they might engage in an online conversation. It's something that they can do independently so that when they come back to campus, all of that time, that entire class can be focused on communication and collaboration. So instead of the old days, like maybe when you and I were in school and we go to school and a teacher lectures at us for 40 minutes, which we're not going to do, of course, they'll watch a very short 5-7 minute lecture when they're at home. They'll have a chance to process that and maybe create a graphic organizer. And then the next day when they come back to campus, they'll get right to work from the first moment and have a conversation about what that looks like. Can you go to the next slide, please? Just another possibility when we think about what even a flipped classroom could look like in this hybrid model is, again, focusing on the all students. So the students on campus might come in, there might be a mini lesson modeling with the teacher. So again, computers closed, we're having a conversation, we're learning together. The students might then break off and start to work independently while the teacher maybe pivots and checks in on the students who are online as they're completing their asynchronous work. So again, we're trying as much as we can to keep that in the back of our mind. How do we meet the needs of all these different groups of kids? Go to the next slide, please. The last one's what's called a playlist model. And I'm trying to think, there are so many examples from last year. And so if you are a 7th grade parent and you have a rising 8th grader, you know that in science, they use this, I believe, for their body systems unit, where the students have a lot of different choices. They said, here are the different ways that you could explore this. Go ahead and do so. And the teacher is much more, again, the facilitator. So a student took on the ownership of the learning, and the teacher is, again, much more of a guide. And they would ask guiding questions and probing questions and check in on students and give feedback. And so it wasn't, again, the sage on the stage, the teacher at the front of the room at all times. It was student driven, which we, of course, always want. And the teacher, again, just being there to help make sure that they're on the right track and support them when they're not. And so before I send it off, I just, again, want to reiterate, at the core of everything we're going to be doing over the next few weeks, months, years, relationships are absolutely there. We want to make sure that your teenager and pre-teenager just feel safe when they come to campus and when they come to our virtual campus. And we also just want to make sure that, you know, as we're planning, we're thinking through the needs of all kids. And that's both students who are at home, who are online, that's students with different learning needs, whether they're gifted and talented, they're learning English, they're learning Spanish, whatever it might be. We're thinking through all these different lenses to create a program that meets the needs of all kids. With that in mind, I think that's my last slide. And so I'm going to send it, I believe, to you, Fernando. Yes, athletics. Fernando, take it away.
Thank you, Kyle. That's me. Hi, everybody, and thank you for joining us in our town hall for middle school. I'm Fernando Archila. I'm going to be the athletic director, and I'm happy to announce that we are going to have a sports at ISP in this school year. So before we talk a little bit about the registration and the offers that we have and the schedule and everything, I just want to emphasize a little bit our philosophy in athletics. And it's only a continuous, right, from the previous years, because we believe in sportsmanship. We believe that our athletics program is based on educational principles. So yes, we're going to compete, we're going to train hard, and we're going to push our limits when we are on the field, on the courts, on the swimming pool. But we also believe that student participation in education-based athletics is a privilege that enriches the educational experience, that encourages academic achievement, that promotes respect, integrity, and sportsmanship, and that prepares our students for a future in a global community. That being said, we know all of the benefits that sports and physical activity and exercise bring to all of our student athletes, such as promoting healthy lifestyles and safe competition, that develop an understanding of different sports, individual sports and team sports. And that being said, we know that it's really important for their holistic development. Could we please go to the next slide? So this is an overall perspective of all of the different activities, sports, and categories that we have at ISP right now and that we're going to offer. You're going to see that it ranges from kindergarten all the way through high school, passing from through middle school, of course, but just for you to have a snapshot of what our program is going to look for the next school year. We're going to compete. I'm happy to announce that we're going to compete in interscholastic activities nationally, specifically in soccer, basketball, and there are some other sports such as flag football and volleyball that are already moving in order to start their competitions. In individual sports, it's a little bit different, and some of our student athletes do participate in some national federation meets and other games, but in terms of our school ISP, we're going to be competing. Next slide, please. So this is important information if you want your children to participate in sports and to register in sports on time. So we're going to be sending a registration link. You are going to receive this information, this slide, and you're going to have the link, but we're also going to send the registration form through email. And this is going to be open from Friday, July 30 to August the 6th. It's really important to register using this form because it allows us to have all of the information before the school year starts and to know the numbers that we're going to have and the ones that are interested, of course. This is the formal, the official way to register in athletics. That registration form closes on August the 6th at 4 p.m. That's the deadline. And after that, we're going to send the confirmation email to all of the families and to all of the children that are going to participate in sports. The first day of practices and tryouts is going to be the next Monday, August the 9th, or Tuesday, August the 10th. Why is there a difference? Because our schedules are going to be based on the cohorts. We're aligned with academics. We have the same system based on cohorts because we need to comply first to Meduca and MINSA regulations in terms of the space and the distances that we're managing in each of the spaces and the number of participants in each of the sports, of course. So that's really important to notice. It's also important to know that some tryouts for soccer, especially for soccer, under 18, boys and girls, under 12 and boys will start earlier on Friday, August the 6th, because there will be competitions that we're going to be participating in, Copa Talento and Liga 10 in August, and we want to start building that team a few days before the official first week of practices start in order to have the rosters ready. The schedule, as I was sharing before, is going to depend on the cohort and the sport. There will be much more information on the registration link. You're going to see the schedules, you're going to have the visuals, the days, and the times that you're going to come, that your children are going to come to practice. The practices will be from 2:45 p.m. to 4 p.m. on Mondays and Wednesdays and Tuesdays and Thursdays, and Fridays will be from 12:45 to 2:45 p.m. Can we go to the next slide, please? So that's the schedule. As you know, there are two cohorts. There is a cohort that comes on Mondays and Wednesdays, and another one that comes on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So if we are on the first one, for example, their team is going to practice Mondays and Wednesdays, and the second cohort will be Tuesdays and Thursdays. I really want to emphasize this difference so that you know which days you're going to come to each of your practices. And Fridays, those teams that are selected to compete are going to be expected to come every Friday. That way, that team will be practicing 3 times per week and competing together on the weekends. Next slide, please. So other key or important information is that we have limited capacity. And this is sometimes a difficult part, a difficult conversation. And especially right now with COVID, we're limited with the spaces. So we have a number for each of the sports and each of the categories, a maximum number, a maximum capacity. If we're over enrolled, we're going to have tryouts, especially for the individual sports. But for the team sports, as already mentioned, we're going to be competing in some leagues. And for the selection of that team, we need to run tryouts in the first week, or for soccer, for example, some days before. Those tryouts are going to determine run by the head coaches and the coordinator of each sport, which students are going to be in that team that is going to be competing in one specific league. There could be, of course, a team B or a team C that are going to practice together and they're going to compete in other leagues or in friendly meets. But we do need to know who are going to be the first team, the second team, and the third team, always run by the coordinator or the head coach. Please, we invite you and we encourage you to stay tuned with all of the information that we share through our website, through emails that we post on our social media account on at ISP Athletics, and to please always be checking your inbox if possible. And we're going to send all of the information one more time. Please feel free to contact me to my email. You can see it on the slide, or to Ms. Catalina Restrepo, that I'm sure that most of you know her. We also need to follow our biosecurity rules. The same that we follow in the morning are going to be followed in the afternoon. Of course, there will be times in the middle of the competition or the practice, especially in team sports, in which it's going to be difficult to maintain distance, but we need to always maintain as much as possible the distance, the masks, putting our masks on after drinking water, and our coaches are going to be there, always ensuring that we're in compliance with the regulations. Next slide, please, just to see some of the examples of the rules that we're going to be following. As you can see, following 2 meters distance, students must bring their approved masks. Drink water breaks, they need to go to their own personal space and then put their masks on one more time. Coaches will have, of course, spare masks in order to just give them out to the student athletes if they lost theirs. And there will be, as I mentioned before, a minimum and a maximum capacity of students in each of the spaces. Drills and exercise and competition, we're going to try to not to have physical contact. It's going to be a little bit difficult, of course, during competitions, but we will try to maintain our personal space as always. We have been doing it through the pandemic. And during practices, in terms of the equipment, we're going to clean all of the equipment before we start, and in the middle of the practice, and at the end of the practice one more time. If you have any questions, please write your questions down in the questions and answer box that we have. I'm happy to answer them by text and also at the end of the session, or just reach out to us to our emails. And now I'm going to pass it over to after school activities, sorry.
Thank you very much, Fernando. Appreciate it. So I just want to touch briefly that we're going to have after-school activities on campus, and we're very excited about that. We want to share a little bit what options are available and the timeline for registrations. If I may, please have the next slide. So we are going to have a variety of options of after-school activities for your child to enjoy. As we're going to have anything from language to art to gymnastics. We're going to have master chefs that they can then delight you with delicious meals, and of course our robotics, which is one that a lot of students like. The next slide, please. So the important part here and the takeaway that I wanted to share today is the window. So we are going to have a registration window starting this Saturday, July 31st through August 24th. All of the options with a little description of each of them are available in our website. You can go to our website and look for after school activities for any additional information. And if you have any questions, feel free to contact Johan Hernandez, our after school coordinator, and he'll be able to help you address any questions that you have. And again, the window will be from this Saturday, July 31st through August 24. We will send you a communication, and all of the options are detailed in our website if you want any additional information. Thank you very much. And with that, I'll pass it over to Devin for some exciting news on VAPA.
Hello, everybody. My name is Devin Hibbard. I'm the new VAPA coordinator. I'll be overseeing K through 12 arts here at ISP. And I'm really excited to get to work with your students and our staff to bring back the arts. It's been really hard in the pandemic to not create together. And so we're really excited to get back to creating this year. We will hopefully be doing an all school musical. This will not be divisional. This will be all school, open to all students. And we've moved it to February to give us a little bit more time to work around all the regulations and guidelines. So we will keep you posted. And when we decide and announce the show and all the information, it'll get posted on the events website, the VAPA events website. It'll get posted on our Instagram, and it will definitely come out in the Dolphin Dispatch. So you will have all of that information. We are hoping to introduce a couple of smaller events starting earlier this year to bring back elements of the arts. So maybe some small music pieces, theater pieces, and definitely art in our gallery space. So we will keep you informed of all of that information and all of those dates. If you have questions, you can pop them in the chat. You can also reach out to me. You can always email me with questions. And once we know exactly what we're doing and following all of the guidelines from the government, we will get that information out to you. So I'm so excited to bring back the arts. And with that, I'm going to pass it back.
Thanks everyone for sharing and presenting. So we have some minutes left for questions. Again, if you have a question, feel free to post it in the Q&A, and we'll answer some we have answered in writing, and some we can answer live. At the bottom of your screen, if you see a Q&A, please go ahead and type your question. So let me see. So I have a question here I'm going to pass over to Kyle, and it is, do kids need to bring their own device?
Great question. Yes, students should absolutely bring their own device. We have our bring your own device specifications that Bill and our amazing tech team have put together to help students have that in place, but you should definitely have it on campus. While we're going to focus on being technology free as much as possible, we're still going to be doing a lot of collaboration through Google Slides and Pear Deck and some of the great apps that we have. So definitely need that for day one. If for some reason you don't have one, you just got to Panama, you're just transitioning to middle school, you don't have one yet, we do have a few through our library, very, very few that we might be able to support you with, but we'll definitely need the devices, yes.
Thanks, Kyle. And while I have you there, when will school be sending the students their schedules?
We're finalizing those over the next few days. We're so excited that we have roughly 8 or 9 different elective choices for our 7th and 8th graders. The perk of that is that they have so much choice. The downside is it's a little tricky at times to make sure that people are in the right spot. So we should be sending those on Monday afternoon is my hope, if not Tuesday morning.
Thank you, Kyle. Now a question on logistics. So Friday dismissal. So there's for the first Friday, it's going to be a full day. So it's going to be at 2:30, but afterwards, the Friday would be a half day. So let me check. We have some questions coming in. Thank you. Will you have vending machines for snacks? We're currently not. We're not going to have any vending machines for snacks. Please bring your lunches, and once the cafeteria is open, you would have different options. For the moment, please, in the meantime, Bring your lunches and snacks to campus. One for you, Fernando. Soccer club is every day. Can students go every day to soccer?
Yes, great question. So the practices will be based on their cohorts. There will be a soccer practice on Mondays and Wednesdays, and and that's for the cohort that is coming on Mondays and Wednesdays. And there will be another practice for the cohort that is coming on Tuesdays and Thursdays. All right, and then there will be another on Fridays. On Fridays is the only day in which the student athletes, for example, in soccer, are coming from both cohorts to the practice. The ones that are here at campus remain on campus, and the ones that are studying from home are allowed to come and practice with the opposite cohort.
Thank you, Fernando. Kyle, one for you about learning. For the virtual kids, how will the classroom learning look like? Will the whole class time be asynchronous all the time with times with teachers, or sometimes the whole class together?
That's a fantastic question. And so as I mentioned earlier, when we're going through the models, it'll vary a little bit from class to class and department to department. But the key is, if your child decides to say virtual, can't get to Panama, or you opt to make that decision for them, there will be opportunities, of course, to connect with the teacher. And so let's say it's an asynchronous day and your child's watching an asynchronous lesson, they're applying their learning in a meaningful way. They still have an opportunity during our win block or during office hours to connect with the teacher to ask questions. So that's just one given day. In terms of the overarching structure, as I mentioned, we're really thinking carefully. Even if it's one student per grade level, that is someone that we need to focus on and make sure that we're meeting their needs. And so that's when we're going to be creative with some of these different models. We might start the first 10 minutes where all students are together, and then the students who are at home break off and start their work while the teacher closes the computer and focuses on the students on campus. And so it's gonna, I know it's a vague answer, but I want to assure you that we are going to definitely meet those needs. And if we're not, I'd love to chat with you and make sure we can adjust our program to do so. Can I keep going, Janet? I see a few other questions for me. Is that okay?
Yes, of course.
Great.
Go ahead.
Perfect. So Karina, new students. So there is, of course, on Saturday, more of a kind of a new family orientation that we're excited about and excited to show off our beautiful campus. On the 4th, we are going to have a student orientation in the middle school as well. We have a lot of our ambassadors, our current students who are eager to come back and meet new students and show them around the campus and help them with their schedule and just make sure that on their first day of school, they have a friend, a social network built in. So we are going to have one at 10 a.m. on August 4th. Miss Andrea Ganitsky, our amazing counselor, will send out more information about that. We're also going to be trying to do something for the new students who are entirely virtual. So I've interviewed a few students who are maybe still in Korea, or they're still in the United States, they're still in Mexico, they're still in Argentina, whatever it might be. We're still going to try to have a new student orientation that's completely virtual at 8 o'clock on that day. But again, stay tuned for information from Ms. Ganitsky about that. I'm going to take one more, Janeth. 4 days. So AB is asking about 4-day students. Our hope, of course, is that we can get all students onto campus every day at some point. At this time, we need to kind of take inventory and look at our schedules and run the numbers to see how many students we can safely accommodate in all of our classes. And so even the students who were last year, who are 4-day students at this time for day one, they're going to be following the normal schedule. As I said, once we get pledges in and we have a chance to go through our rosters and think about capacity, we may have the opportunity to invite a few more students, again, based on that very specific criteria about EAL and learning support specifically.
Thank you, Kyle. We have a question here about uniforms. Can you clarify the school uniform for students on campus and online?
Yeah, so the uniform is it's outlined in our handbook, which if it hasn't been sent out yet, it will be very soon. They are, of course, when they're on campus, expected to follow that uniform very, very carefully, but it is the polo and of course the slacks or the shorts or the skirt, as well as the black shoes, and over 50% black. If you could help your student with that. I've had so many lively debates with students who say, no, it's 50%, and they've showed me the calculations. Help me make sure it's just black. That would be so helpful. For students who are at home, they should still be in uniform. So even though we're only seeing them from the waist up, we ask that they're in uniform. And part of that is, of course, just consistency of expectations. The other one is there's a lot of science behind getting out of bed, taking a shower, putting on your work clothes. And there's something about that sets them up for success that day. And so even if they're tempted and say, I'm at home, don't worry, please encourage them to get up, splash water on their face, and get that ISP polo on so that they're ready to go.
Thank you. Perfect. So Audrey, if you don't mind answering this one, will the PTA be given the names of new families by grade so we can welcome them?
So we have data protection laws that are in place that where we can't just share information. So what we will do is you will see communications from us that will connect you to the PTA, and you can share your information with the PTA, but we cannot just hand that over. So, you know, if you're a new family coming in and you're coming to the orientation on Saturday, the PTA will be there and you'll be able to meet them and sign up for, you know, being connected. And then again, through your teachers, through your parent homeroom reps, et cetera, we will give you opportunities to reach out to them, but we just can't make that decision for you. But I really do hope you join the PTA because they'll help you with so many things. They have class chats where you can learn, you know, about special things happening in your classroom. They're having events for new families. We're having events for all families. So I truly hope you'll get involved. So I hope that answers the question. Thank you.
Thanks, Audrey. So let me check. Most questions have been answered. We have a few questions about the pledge. How do I know if the pledge has been submitted? You can check with Betsy Rodriguez if you need any confirmation to verify that your pledge has been received. So that would be brodriguez@isp.edu.pa. And so let me see. Thank you, Fernando, for answering some of the athletic questions. And after school activities are limited to the days in which they will be coming on campus. So depending on the enrollment that we have on after school activities, we will set up the schedule. So it'll be only on the days that they are attending campus, given that we have those two cohorts. And I don't really just check here. I don't see any additional questions. I'll pass it over to Kyle and Audrey for some closing remarks. Thanks, everyone.
And I'm probably going to forward it along to Audrey for closing remarks, but I did want to say one quick thing. If other questions do pop up, kmartin@isp.edu.pa. Both Caitlin and I, Caitlin's amazing assistant principal, are more than happy to talk through your situation, your questions, whatever it might be that you need. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We are really excited to welcome your children back to campus next Thursday and Friday, and just cannot wait to get started. So unless Dr. Menard has anything, thank you all so much for being here. Dr. Menard?
Thank you, everyone. I just want to close by reminding you that we will be sending out the recording of this tomorrow. And please keep your eyes on the Dolphin Dispatch. That will always have really important information. You can also check out our website. That's where our calendar is, and you can see what's happening. And we just really look forward to an exciting year with you and your children. And know all of our doors are open. We're here to serve the kids, and we welcome your questions, your suggestions, and your concerns. So thanks. Have a great day, and we'll see you next week. Bye.